Yeah, well, I think we can all kind of agree that the best stories are the ones where there's a chance of failure, a chance of really screwing up. You know, that hold my beer moment. Those are the best stories because there's that element of discomfort. There's that element of, in some cases, even danger. Can you kind of talk about the value of making yourself uncomfortable, but then, of course, not dying in the
Yeah.
process?
Well, I think the nice thing too about the modern comfortable world is uh, it's a lot harder to die nowadays, right? And so I think we have a lot of fears that we built as we evolved because those used to keep us safe. But nowadays, I mean, there's a lot of safety nets in life, and we even have technologies that can keep us safer. So, for example, when I was in Alaska, I had this little GPS thing that kind of had this orange button you press if things go south, and hopefully, it alerts someone to come pick you up. Now, apparently, it takes a handful of days for them to arrive, but it still would, it's
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had that even 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Um, like I was mentioning, the work of Joseph Campbell, we know that when we challenge ourselves and put ourselves in position where there's a high degree of failure, that when we come out on the other side of that, we are better for it. It can help with a lot of fears fading away. So, for example, we get up to the Arctic. We're in Kotzebue, Alaska, is the town that we left out of, and I'm standing on this runway. The wind is gusting, and the guy that I was up in the Arctic with, Donnie, he leans over to me. We're looking at these planes that we're going to take up there, and these planes are about the size of a pack of gum. I mean, two people fit in them. And I hate flying, especially when it's in a plane like that. And Donnie leans over to me and goes, "Hey, I got the best pilots that I could." He's like, "I'm not saying we're not going to crash and die. That is a high probability, but I got the best pilot I could." I'm like, "Oh, thanks a lot." So, I mean, I'm terrified of getting in this plane, right? So I get in and we fly, and the whole time I'm just like, "Oh man, this is terrible." And then they drop us off in the Arctic, and in the Arctic over 33 days, I face all these challenges that I've just never faced in my life, right? Having to cover this rough terrain with no safety net, seeing wild animals, being exposed to hurricane force winds and blizzards, and just all these things that are real challenges that have a high degree of risk. When that plane came back and picked me up 33 days later, I wasn't afraid to get into it. Because now I can put in perspective that, oh, well, this is actually not that, there's a pilot here who's 50 years old. He's been doing this for 30 years. But when your challenges in your daily life and the things that you have to encounter really are very safe, I think it can throw off your perspective on what makes you afraid. And so by putting yourself in positions of failure, you're going to learn something about fear and how a lot of our modern day fears are sort of unfounded and how those can hold us back from the things we really want to do in our lives.